I'm Lars Helgeson, the founder and CEO of GreenRope and the author of CRM for Dummies. Today we're going to talk a little bit about some advanced topics in marketing. Now that doesn't mean you have to be a rocket scientist to do this. The ideas behind this are relatively simple and they're actually pretty easy to use in GreenRope, but a lot of companies don't have access to this kind of data because it's really reserved for what they think are data scientists and super advanced mathematical geniuses. We have tried to take all that hard number crunching and kind of make it a simple thing so that you can get advantage of all the data that you're gathering and figure out exactly what's working, what's not working, and how do you leverage all this data in a way that can help you grow your business and operate more efficiently. So the first thing I want to talk about is lead scoring. So when we talk about lead scoring, we talk about two kinds of lead scoring. We talk about demographic, meaning that we're looking at specific characteristics of individuals. These generally don't change very much. So we're looking at, say, if someone has a particular title, maybe they're a particular gender, maybe a particular age, and they're in your target market, then we would want to give people points for being in that target market, or maybe detract from them if we know that they're really not in our target market. The other side is activity-based lead scoring. So activity lead scoring is based on, surprising, activities. So when people do things and being able to measure them, and this is where these really require a complete CRM to do this right. You can't do lead scoring based purely on email or purely on websites. What we're looking at is the entire picture. So when we look at complete CRM, we see all the things that are combined here. We want to understand that the complete CRM uses the same platform to do all of these things so that when we do lead scoring, we have a complete, accurate, up-to-date picture in real time of who our leads and our customers are. So when we plot lead scoring, we do it on a chart here, and we have demographic and activity lead scoring on this chart. And so demographic lead scores, they go this way if they're more likely to be in our target market, and they go negative if they're not likely. So what I do personally, because we use our own software to manage our own system, I give our employees minus 100 points because I don't want my employees to ever end up over here as a potential lead because obviously they're employees. So then on this axis, we're measuring activity points. And if you see all the things over here that we're tracking here in this complete CRM, all of these interactions can contribute to this activity lead scoring. So what we'll do is we'll find certain people here that they might be in our target market, so they might be over here, and they might have a lot of points up here, so they'll be up here, and that tells us that if I'm a salesperson, for example, and I want to look at all the contexts in my group, the people that I'm selling to, then I'm going to find these high value, very active potential leads, and these are the ones they're the ones I'm going to call if I have a half hour of free time. And this is how we're able to leverage this technology to help our sales and marketing team act more efficiently. Because if a salesperson has, say, half an hour to make follow-up calls and try to convert people, they're going to want to follow up with these people out here. And if they don't have the whole picture, they may be calling someone that's really down here, someone that's really not that interested, but they've only got part of the picture. And that's why we want to focus on the value of complete CRM and getting all of these different interactions tracked within our CRM. So one of the things we do that's very important to understand is with activity lead scoring, we have what's called a decay factor. So we use radioactive half-life as a model, and you can pick the half-life. But the idea is that the number of points that you get for doing something decreases over time depending on how long ago it happened. So if I sent you an email 6 months ago, that's not as valuable as and you read it. That's not as valuable as if I sent you an email today and you read it. Because then, if it's today, I know that you've expressed interest right away. If it's been 6 months ago, not nearly as valuable to me. So we build this, and you can set what you want this half-life to be, but we build a decay into it so that over time, these scores are going to go down. Or actually, it'll go more down this way because your demographic score likely is going to stay the same. So that's important because that helps us really focus on the customers that are really hot right now. Those are the ones that if we're in sales, that we really want to watch for. We also can do things like watching for automation opportunities. And so we may say, maybe someone is on our website, maybe they're opening emails, maybe they're answering surveys, filling out forms, watching videos, maybe they're on social media. All of these things can contribute points that we're using to categorize our leads and our customers. And maybe if someone generates a certain number of points in a day, we want to trigger something to happen. Maybe that's an alert to the sales person, maybe it's automatically scheduling a follow-up call, maybe it's sending an email, whatever it is. You want to be able to track when people are generating a lot of lead scoring points, because that's going to trigger a time when you can be really timely. You know that they're interested right then. So that's lead scoring. Predictive analytics is kind of related in the sense that what we're doing is we're looking for all of the aspects of an individual person. So here's our person, and with this person, we have demographic information and we have activity related information. This information obviously is stored within our CRM, and what we do is we start to collect information over time. And so say over a 6-month period, over a year period, or it might be shorter, it might be longer, but we're starting to accumulate enough data to create what's called a predictive model. What that does is very simple, is it says, what is the statistical correlation between this person's, either their attributes or their actions, in a way that correlates to them becoming a customer. So over time we collect this data and we say, here we might know their age, we might know their interests. Maybe they do an action. Maybe they open a particular email, they fill out a particular form, or they visit a particular web page. Whatever those things are, we find the correlations to those conversions, and we build what's called a predictive model from that. Then what we learn from that is, what are the things that are actually driving people to convert? What are the things that are statistically correlated with someone becoming a customer? If we know that someone filling out a particular form has a very strong correlation with someone becoming a customer, there's something with that form. Now, of course, nothing ever works in absolutes. And so when we talk about analytics here and predictive analytics, we're looking at a model that can kind of tell us what we think is going to happen. But of course, everyone is unique. What we want to do is combine all of these different channels, all of these different ways of measuring. Maybe it's watching a particular video. If a contact watches a video, then is that correlated with that conversion? So we build the model, and that tells us a lot about our business model. The next half of that is applying that model to our leads. So once we know all of the things that correlate to a conversion, then we say, aha, here's our leads, here's our list of leads that we haven't converted yet. Now we want to pick out the ones that are most likely to convert. And again, it's very similar to what we talked about before with the salesperson being able to follow up on these very active people. But the predictive model is similar in that it's doing the same thing in looking at all of the different things that correlate with a conversion. And maybe we have someone who's doing all of those things that are statistically correlated to a conversion, but they haven't done it yet. So what we want to do is target our salespeople or our messaging or our automation or our follow-ups off targeting those people who have not yet converted but who are most likely to. So that's what predictive analytics does. So these are both categories underneath the automation tab within GreenRope. So in lead scoring, you can set up your lead scoring rules, you can set up all of your automation, and then with predictive analytics, that's also a separate tab, and that's also under automation, but it allows you to look and automatically build that model. So all you gotta do is just click the button and then it'll come up with the model. And then you can also apply that model to a particular group. And so both of those are their own separate pages. This last one, the conversion driver charts, are something that's within contacts reports. So if you go to contacts, you go down to reports. A conversion driver chart looks like a big box. And what it does is it separates the box based on size and color. So the size will be, so if we have a group, so let's say this represents a group, the size of the box will represent the percentage of people in that group that fall into a certain category. Now, I'm going to go back to when we talked about our user fields. So being able to identify certain things. So let's say we want to look at industry, and we're tracking what industry our contacts are coming from. and maybe here we have one particular industry, maybe here we have another industry, and here we have another industry, and it breaks it down into smaller and smaller components here, 5, 6. So the idea here is the size represents the number of contacts. Then the color represents how active, how much conversion value are we getting from each of those subgroups. And so if we can look and we see maybe 2 is light colored, but 3 is very, very dark, that will tell us that 2 is underperforming relative to 3, which is performing very well. And so we can learn from that. Maybe 1 is average and 2 tells us, well, here's a really large group of leads or customers that have come in, but they're not really converting very well. And why is that? And being able to use what we know about our groups and our segments and our campaigns to isolate and look at different sub-segments of our target market and say, why is this happening? Are there certain groups that are performing better or worse than others? And so here a darker color represents a better performing segment of our market. So these are just 3 of the tools that you have accessible to you within your GreenRope account. They're very easy to use on purpose. They were designed to help you as a business manager really help your automation and help your team focus on what's working and what's not working so that you can perform more efficiently and you can grow your business more effectively. So the next set of videos we're going to talk about really are going to focus on some more of the operational elements of what we offer and talk to you about things like how we do our forms, how we do our surveys, and other tools that we have to help you interact with your leads and your customers.